I'm Danielle, your host of the Abridged to Motherhood podcast, the place where moms like you learn to thrive, not just survive through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. I'm a birth and postpartum doula and a mom of two who's been where you are. My first pregnancy was filled with so much excitement, but it was also marked by stress, anxiety, and fear of the unknown. I thought I had everything mapped out, but when postpartum hit, I realized how unprepared I was for the physical, emotional, and mental toll of motherhood. It was overwhelming, lonely, and nothing like I imagined. When I found out I was pregnant again, I knew I needed to approach things differently. I made it my mission to not only prepare for postpartum, but to prioritize myself in the process. That shift changed everything. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Whether you're navigating your first pregnancy, feeling buried under endless advice, or struggling to figure out what you actually need for postpartum, this podcast is your safe space. You'll find practical tips, honest conversations, and expert insights to help you feel informed, supported, and empowered through every stage of motherhood. If you're ready to feel confident, prepared, and truly supported in your motherhood journey, stick around. This is for you. Hey friends, welcome back to the Abridged to Motherhood podcast. I'm so excited you're here today. My dear friend Alex King is on. We met in our little doula community online, and she is a former foster mama, postpartum doula turned baby led weaning specialist and the founder of Baby Led Weaning Academy. With years of experience supporting families through midnight feedings, early milestones, and mealtime messes, she helps parents ditch the overwhelm and start solids with confidence, clarity, and connection. Her mission is to make feeding feel simple, safe, and enjoyable so moms can trust themselves, trust their babies, and find joy in the journey. So thanks so much for coming on, Alex.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to dig into this episode because I actually have quite a few people in my in-person support group who have been talking about baby-led weaning, and their babies are getting right to that age. So this is perfect. I think it's going to help so many moms out there. Can you explain what baby-led weaning is and how it's different from traditional feeding?
Yeah. So at the basic, if you're going to boil it down, we're skipping the baby food, the purees, and we're going straight to solid finger foods after 6 months. I always tell people there's so much more to it than that. That's one of my big things. It's not just about skipping purees. It really is a whole philosophy of, it's in the name, baby-led weaning, letting your baby lead the way. We're not forcing food into their mouth. We're letting them learn and explore food and lead that feeding experience.
And personally, with my first baby, we did purees for maybe 2 weeks. And then I was like, I'm done. Just gonna dive right into giving her the full finger foods. And with my son, we just did baby led weaning right away. But I know it made my mom very nervous. So can you talk to people about when is it a good time to start? What signs should they be looking for that it's safe? Let's calm all the mom and mother-in-law fears out there.
The mom and mother-in-law fears. They are ever present in so many parts of motherhood. Just to not answer your question right away, but my professional experience as a postpartum doula, I deal with this all the time in so many different things, whether it's talking about we always put our babies to sleep on their stomachs and you were just fine. And I had the job of explaining to grandma that might be true, but when we know better, we do better. And explaining to mom that, your mom or your mother-in-law being upset isn't so much about the thing that you're doing, but it feels like a judgment on their parenting. And it's a whole dynamic. And then that pops up again around baby-led weaning. If grandma is saying, I fed you rice cereal at 4 months and you were just fine. Yeah, you were. But if there's a better way, let's do it and let's learn about it together. So readiness signs, we are definitely looking. We're waiting for at least 6 months. You can start purees earlier. I don't recommend it. It is possible, but that finger food, we're really going to wait at least till 6 months. You want babies to be sitting up pretty well unsupported so that they can safely swallow and things like that. Those are the two most important. We also want them to be showing an interest in food and bringing things to their mouth, which babies are usually doing pretty naturally at that point. It's not really a safety thing, but you'll be more successful and they'll have more interest if they're doing that. And then A random scientific one is the tongue thrust reflex needs to be faded. It naturally happens around 6 months. And that's when, if anything goes in their mouth, if they just spit it right back out, they still have that reflex, but it goes away shortly thereafter. That's why a lot of parents really struggle with purees because they say, "Oh, I just put it in their mouth and then they just spit it right back out." And that's what their bodies are designed to do.
I've learned so much from you, even just in your on your Instagram account about baby led weaning, things that I didn't even know when I was doing it. And that makes total sense about the spitting out the purees. So that's a really good sign for parents to look for. Actually, in my in-person support group, we had an OT come and talk about baby led weaning. So if your baby is struggling with some of those developmental milestones, then maybe that's time to get the OT involved so that baby is being prepared and worked with so we can get to that stage specifically. And I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of early intervention. If we are noticing something with baby, maybe they're really tight, maybe your baby had torticollis when they came out, tongue lip ties, those types of issues obviously can cause problems with feeding if we don't address them appropriately and early on. Really research in your area somebody that is an OT who works with babies if you have a baby who's struggling. But the majority of babies, like Alex said, you look for those signs and then it's go time.
Yeah. And things like that can change in just short amount of times.
Oh, yes.
I'll talk to a mom who's like, my baby is 6 months, but she's not quite sitting up yet. Should I just start or wait? I'm like, just wait. Probably in 2 days, she'll sit up for the first time and it can change that fast.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you hear about baby led weaning?
One that I really try and fight against, which is maybe going to be ironic, is that purees are not the problem. Purees, I'm not anti-puree. I am obviously pro baby led weaning. Any mom I talk to about purees, I encourage them to still follow a baby led weaning philosophy, which can look like, sure, use purees, but don't force the spoon into their hand. Offer them the spoon. Let them play with purees with their hands. We are adults. Yogurt, pudding, applesauce. Not super often, but it is a texture they can learn. It's not wrong. It's just not the only texture out there. I also see a lot of moms just get really overwhelmed with a lot of the information out there on the internet. It's very easy to go find a 101 foods before one list. And I think that if it's fun for you and it makes you feel excited, do it. If it's overwhelming, let that go. You do not need to feed your baby 100 foods before one. I promise.
Yes. What types of foods are best then for starting baby led weaning for not starting with the purees?
Really, the sky's the limit. Few fruits are good, vegetables are good. That's another common misconception is to avoid fruit, but breast milk is sweet, formula is sweet, amniotic fluid is sweet. Our babies are used to sweet things. Feeding them a banana before broccoli isn't gonna ruin them. Some of my favorite first foods are banana. That's the first thing that I fed my very first foster daughter. So it has like a special place in my baby led weaning heart. Broccoli is another good one. It's got a built in handle. Carrots, sweet potatoes, avocado is the quintessential first food. I think it's gross. So I I teach it, but it's not my number one go-to.
My daughter's first was watermelon. We cut up strips of watermelon and she sucked that down so fast. I
Yeah.
remember she
They
loved
usually really like it. It's sometimes a tricky one though, because it's watery. So they're like more likely to gag on watery foods.
perfect segue. How do you address those concerns about choking versus gagging?
I just released 2 podcast episodes last week about this over on my show, Baby Led Weaning Academy. And the first one was about the fear of choking, and that's totally normal. If you weren't afraid of your baby choking, I think there's something weird about that. It's totally normal to be afraid of your baby choking, especially handing them a piece of chicken to a baby. It feels scary. I get that. The things that I recommend to do are to first learn the difference between gagging and choking. because so many moms, I have lost track of how many moms say, "Oh, my baby was choking." And I ask a few follow-up questions like, what did that look like? Were they coughing? Was it loud? Were they turning red? Those are all gagging signs. And 10 times out of 10, maybe nine, they say choking, but they mean gagging. Their baby was just gagging because choking is really actually quite rare. And that is a medical emergency situation. But gagging is super common on the other hand. I learned a super cute rhyme. I wish I had come up with it, but it's loud and red, let them go ahead. Silent and blue, they need you. So that's a really easy, like a little brain worm to remember. If it's loud, if it's red, it looks scary, gagging, like it looks uncomfortable, but they're fine. They don't need you to intervene. Usually intervening can actually make it worse. But if they're silent, they can't make any sound, they're turning blue, that's when it's choking. And knowing the difference, preparing, taking an emergency prep course, and just being prepared for that experience can take away a lot of that fear.
Yeah, I love that because you're walking and feeling more confident than as a parent, knowing the difference, knowing then if they do choke, you have the skills to help them too. So what are some easy low stress meals that you recommend for baby led weaning for the type A perfectionist mamas out there that want a breakfast, lunch, dinner idea?
My first thing is to tell you that if there's a brand new beginner at baby led weaning, once a day. We're not doing the breakfast, lunch, dinner. You don't need to do that. I usually say for 6 to 7 months, one meal. 7 to 8, we're like at 1 to 2, 8 to 9, two meals. Above that, we're working on 2 to 3. And a simple sort of those they have those three section silicone plates. I really like them, not because they need their food separated, but it is a good reminder to put three things on the plate. And if one has iron, that's one of the most nutritional important parts of solids after 6 months. They're like iron stores deplete from what they got during pregnancy. And so high iron foods like meat, lentils, broccoli, spinach, tofu, and then something from a plant, a vegetable, a fruit, maybe two, one of each. And then you want a good fat source for your baby. So avocado, lots of things do double duty. Peanut butter, yogurt, eggs, adding olive oil to things, butter. Babies need fat for their brain development. So when we're serving things, we want to stay away from the low fat, no fat, and go towards whole fat yogurt and cheese, things like that.
That's very simple. I can do that. 1, 2, 3 on a
Yeah.
plate. Love that. How do you feel like baby-led weaning sets the stage for then having a healthier relationship with food as your baby grows too?
Oh, such a good question. I think it starts with the fact that you give them the control, that they have that control. We are preserving that self-regulation that babies are so lovingly born with that we at some point lose. But we're preserving it by not shoving food into their mouth. They get to control it. They get more time to explore different textures and tastes. A lot of early eating isn't eating. There's not a lot going in the mouth. There's not a lot going in their stomach, but there's a lot going in their brain. They're exploring different tastes, textures, smells, temperatures, all those kinds of things. There's also a lot of research out there on a window where most babies will eat anything you put in front of them. They're not picky. There's zero pickiness in a 7 month old. Baby led weaning doesn't prevent pickiness. Your toddler is still going to want to eat beige food. That is what is going to happen. A 7 month old's favorite foods might be broccoli, salmon, and avocado. And that baby in a year and a half wants goldfish and buttered noodles. So I'm not here to tell you that baby led weaning is going to fix picky eating because it's not. But you, I think, do get a head start that they have been exposed to a lot of those foods while they're willing to try them.
Yes, because I think the more exposure they have earlier on to these different flavors can help develop that palate, so to say. But you're absolutely right. That toddler stage, they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Yeah. And it makes sense if you think about it because a baby in the first year, I don't know the actual stats on this, but they grow like a huge percentage compared to their birth weight triples or however much in the first year. But after that year mark, their growth slows down a lot and they're more focused on learning speech and motor development and things. Their number one priority isn't just to grow.
Right. The other thing I hear from a lot of parents is, how do I dress them? What about them getting food everywhere or throwing the food off the plate and the mess? How do we calm those fears?
It is messy. So is traditional spoon feeding. It's messy. Babies are messy. I think calming the fear is honestly a mindset shift on mom's part, on parents' part to embrace the mess. A lot of motherhood is messy and it also can be magical at the same time. This is like a literal mess of broccoli smeared on the kitchen table kind of mess. You can get a dog, but that might be more work than it's worth.
Yes. I always stripped my babies down when we were first starting to, and then
Yep.
they just went right in the bath after.
Yeah.
I had a family that I doulaed for that they bought a tarp almost that went under the high chair, and when the food went down, they could just pick the tarp up and
Yeah. There's some fun things. There's bibs that I really like. They're called Baprins. You can find them at bapronbaby.com. I have a discount code. It's BLW Academy 10 for them. And they also sell like fancy splash mats that you can put on that's like that tarp with a fancy name. I've also seen, but I've never used a high chair catchy. Have you ever heard of that or seen
I've
one?
seen them, yes.
It's like a little trough that goes under the baby's feet and catches the food so that it doesn't end up on the floor and then you can recycle. But honestly, like you're not gonna fix the mess, so you just have to figure out how to embrace the mess.
Which is exactly what I preach on this podcast.
Yeah.
Flexibility in our mindset in motherhood. There are so many things that we can't control that we have to learn to let go and just pause and work on ourselves in that moment as we move forward. And we all figure it out as we go.
Yep.
So, what's one thing you wish every parent knew before they started baby led weaning, or why they should do baby led weaning?
I think that everyone should know that feeding your baby can be enjoyable. I think it's really fun. There's honestly just nothing cuter than a little baby with their chubby fingers double fisting broccoli. There's nothing cuter than that. And it's a scientifically backed method. There's all those great things about it, and it can be really fun. It can make your life easier. We haven't really talked about this. Sometimes baby-led weaning is more prep in the beginning. There's more startup. It is a lot easier in the very early days to just crack open a jar of baby food and feed it to them. But in the long run, it's a lot easier if your baby knows how to feed themselves. You don't have to feed them. You can eat at the same time. They can eat what you're eating. I always compare it to, I feel like I explained formula and breastfeeding to brand new mamas that I worked with postpartum in like they're both good. You're feeding your baby, you're loving them either way. Breastfeeding is really hard at the beginning, but there is payoff on it being easier down the road. And I feel like baby led weaning is the same way. And my like little tagline, so to speak, is you've got this, mama, and I've got you. Because I think that moms can do this. There's not some secret thing that they don't know or they don't have. They can do it and they can enjoy feeding their baby.
Yes, and amen to that. So, I would love for you to share with my listeners where they can get more of you and how to find you.
Yeah, so there's some fun ways. As you mentioned, I'm on Instagram. I'm over at Baby Led Weaning Academy, and I have got a podcast. It's Baby Led Weaning Academy podcast. Pretty easy to find. The website link for that is babyledweaningacademy.com/podcast. And then I'm super excited to tell all of your listeners about a class that I'm teaching, a free class. I'm teaching it tomorrow, June 25th, June 26th, and Saturday the 28th. We've got a morning, an evening, and a Saturday, so I can get all my mamas with all the schedules. I am teaching a free class about all the basics. We're covering what to serve, how to serve it, the gear that you need versus what to leave in your cart, leave in the store, addressing choking fears and allergens. And it's a big overview. It's going to be really great. It's called Orientation Day, Baby Led Weaning 101. You can find that at babyledweaningacademy.com/OD. And I'm going to be doing some fun giveaways live on the class. It's going to be a party. I'm so excited.
I cannot wait. And for all my listeners too, Alex will continue to be a part of our world, and I am going to have her be a guest in the Abridged Motherhood community. So if you are part of that community, you will be able to meet her once more as a guest and ask your questions, but that will be later on in this fall. So you need to go to that 101 now, and
Yeah.
then you'll be able to hear more from her later as you are going throughout the process too. So
And
thank
I'll
you.
be answering questions live. That's going to be like half the whole
Yes.
class is answering Q&A.
Love that so much because we have a lot of questions as mothers and we need trustworthy people that we can come to get those questions answered and people who have lived experience too because like you said there's a lot of information out there and
Yeah,
it
there's a
can
lot of
get
noise.
so overwhelming. So thank you so much Alex for coming. I loved this conversation and I cannot wait for my listeners to get to know you better.
Awesome. Yeah, if anybody registers, make sure you DM me and tell me that you came from the podcast and you're a Bridge to Motherhood listener, and I can't wait to see you there.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the A Bridge to Motherhood podcast. I'm so glad you were here today. If you loved this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review for the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. Share it with a friend or snap a screenshot and tag me on social media. If you decide to leave me a review, go to abridgetomotherhood.com/review. That link is also in the show notes so that I can send you a little gift in the mail. Your support helps other moms to find the podcast, and it truly means the world to me. Remember, your motherhood journey deserves your care and attention. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, mama, and don't worry, I'm here to help every step of the way. See you soon.